So, let's say this is a Sabbath. Let's say this is a Sabbath. What's happening here is an interval between these 2 points. So what's between 2 Sabbaths? You have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So when they look at this, they say the end of the Sabbath, and they instantly say, oh, well, the end of the Sabbath is Sunday. But that's not what the scripture is saying. What it actually says is the close of a day, or the interval between 2 Sabbaths, when you look at the Greek. So it doesn't, when you look at it initially and read it, I can see how they could be, someone could bring the scripture to you and you could be stuck, because I've been in the situation. And I would just rely on the fact that it still doesn't say that because he rose on this day that we should change the Sabbath to this. But in actuality, it's not even saying that Christ rose on the first day. He's saying he rose on a day in between the Sabbaths. And as we just, everything that we did leading up to this shows that there was no way he rose on the Sabbath anyway. But even knowing that, we still need to be able to describe and to break down a scripture that looks like it's a controversial scripture, or that it looks like it's conflicting everything else. And this is how we break it down. We go into the Greek. So it says, in the end of the Sabbath, which actually means in the close of a day, or at the close of the intervals between 2 Sabbaths, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week. All right, so now we have to look at this, because then they'll still go to, well, the first day of the week is Sunday. Let's see what it says in the Greek. Again, looking at first, the number for first in the Strong's Concordance is G3391. And what it means is the first, or one. Now let's look at it says first day of the week. Let's look at week. And again, it's the same definition that we just looked at. It's an interval between 2 Sabbaths. So even when we go to the second part of the scripture, and it says that towards the first day of the week again, it's still saying an interval between 2 Sabbaths. So it never says that Christ rose on the first day of the week. It never says that. So as we read this scripture with that understanding, what it says is, in between 2 Sabbaths, as it began to dawn toward the first of that day in between 2 Sabbaths, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. So it says it began to dawn. One interval between the Sabbaths, they would lead you to believe that she came on the first day of the week, but the Greek shows that this was a day between the Sabbaths in the middle of the week. Christ was given up Sunday, which was Sabbath, Passover night, and was crucified in the day on the Sabbath. He was buried sundown, which was the start of Sunday. And 3 days later, he rose on an interval between the Sabbaths. So Christ actually rose on a Wednesday. Because if he went into the ground on the first day of the week, sundown Sunday to sundown Monday is the first day. Sundown Monday to sundown Tuesday is day 2. Sundown Tuesday to sundown Wednesday is day 3. And the Marys came to the tomb as the sun began to rise on Wednesday, and Christ was already gone. So he was gone before they got there. So, as the scripture says, he had to be within the earth for 3 days. And I just showed you right there that there was no way that Christ rose on Sunday. So I wanted to hit that up because I don't think I touched on it significantly enough last week. I hope that I was able to explain it well enough to where you all can understand it and be able to retain it for the next time that someone tries to come to you with this Sunday Sabbath. There's one other point that I want to bring out concerning the Sabbath. A brother was asking me, and sister, you asked me too about, well, how do we keep the Sabbath? Did you bring your book of Jubilees? Okay, let's go into it.
All right, this is Jubilees chapter 50, starting at verse 7.
And before you go, the reason that I'm going into this is because last week we were talking about the true Sabbath, and we wanted some more. There were questions about, specifics on how to keep the Sabbath, and Jubilees goes into it in more detail than the actual canon or Genesis does. Mm-hmm. So go ahead.
Let's start at verse 6. And it says, "And behold, the commandment of the Sabbath I have written for you, and all of the judgments of its laws. 6 days ye will work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God."
Just as the scripture says in Exodus 20. Mm-hmm. Continue.
"Ye shall not do any work in it, you or your children or your manservants or your maidservants or any of your cattle or the strangers who is with you. And let the man who does anything on it die. Every man who will profane this day, who will lie with his wife, and whoever will discuss a matter that he will do on it, so that he might make on it a journey for any buying or selling."
And it says, any man that lay with his wife. And that goes back to the scripture that we went into last week saying to do not your own pleasures. Mm-hmm. That whole day is supposed to be hallowed to the Most High. Continue.
"And whosoever draw water on it, which was not prepared for him on the 6th day, and whoever lift up anything that he will carry to take out of his tent or from his house, let him die."
Okay, what scripture are we at right now?
We're at verse 9.
Okay, so he's right here. The scripture is saying that not to take water. Mm-hmm. Okay, now we need to understand that we live in a time different than then. Mm-hmm. They had wells. You had to go to the well. You had to put forth effort and draw water out of a well. Mm-hmm. So that's why they called the day previous to the Sabbath the day of preparation. Mm-hmm. You knew you were going to need water on the Sabbath, so the day prior to, you needed to go get water so that you wouldn't have to do this labor on the day of the Sabbath. Mm-hmm. We today, we don't have to do labor to drink water. You know what I'm saying? We have water in our faucets, or we have water in our refrigerator. So it's, it's not for us, and it's different in a sense because times have changed. Mm-hmm. Is the point that I want to make. Mm-hmm. Continue.
In the middle of verse 9, "You shall not do any work upon the day of the Sabbath, except what you prepare for yourself on the 6th day, to eat and to drink and to rest and to observe a Sabbath from all work of that day, and to bless the Most High your power, who gave to you the day of festivals and the holy day."
And understand too, it's saying that if you do these things, you'll die. Well, we know that under the new covenant, under the which is Christ is the mediator of, that we have grace. But that doesn't mean because we have grace that we should continue in sin, just as Paul says. Mm-hmm. If you know better, you do better. All right, continue.
"And a day of the holy kingdom for all Israel is this day among their days always. For great is the honor which the Lord gave to Israel to eat and to drink and to be satisfied on this day of festival, and to rest in it from all work of the occupation of the children of men, except to offer incense and to bring gifts and sacrifice before the Lord for the days and the Sabbaths."
Okay, so he's speaking of even the holy days as well. These are the things that are permitted to do on these days, is to bring offerings and sacrifices. Even though Christ was the last sacrifice, we don't have to bring sacrifices anymore. Mm-hmm. We bring our sacrifice is us resting. Continue.
"This work alone shall be done on the day of the Sabbath in the sanctuary of the Most High your power, so that they might atone for Israel. Continual gifts day by day for an acceptable memorial before the Most High, and so that he might accept them forever, day by day, just as he commanded you."
Continue. Yeah, keep
Verse
going.
12, "And as for any man who does work on it, or who goes on a journey, or who plows a field, either at home or any other place, or who kindles a fire, or who rides on any animal, or who travels the sea in a boat, and any man who slaughter or kill anything, or who slash the throat of cattle or bird, or who snare any beast or bird or fish.
Okay, so it's going into works, and it's saying, or works. It's saying any man that kindled a fire. Well, we know in Nehemiah, he gave an example of someone who was collecting sticks on the Sabbath to kindle a fire. That was work. Nowadays, we don't have to collect sticks and work to kindle a fire. We turn on a stove, we turn on an oven. So it's a difference. We don't have to go in the cattle where our cattle are and cut his throat to eat. Nowadays we have meat already prepared in our refrigerators. And just as we have meat prepared, that was what they were called to do the day before the Sabbath. Have it prepared and set aside in the refrigerator, and have a fire already burning, so you don't have to work to grab kindling to start a fire. Continue.
Or who fast or make war on the day of the Sabbath. Let the man who does any of these on the day of the Sabbath die, so that the children of Israel might keep the Sabbath according to the commands of the Sabbath of the land, just as I written in the tablet which is placed in my hands, so that I might write for you the laws of each time and according to each division of its days. The account of the division of days is finished here.
Okay. So you're not supposed to fast either? No, not on the Sabbath. You don't fast on the Sabbath. You can fast the day before, or if you plan to do like a more than 7-day fast, it's all right to fast on the Sabbath then. But it's like if you're just gonna do a couple of days of fasting, don't let your fast fall on the Sabbath, because as it said, he set that for a convocation to eat and to feast.
Yeah.
But Christ did a 40-day fast. Some of those days were on the Sabbath. But that was planned out in advance. Christ knew he didn't wake up on the Sabbath and say, I think I'm gonna fast today. You know what I'm saying? So no, we should not fast on the Sabbath.